The question is, analysis of nickel oxide shows that it has formula of shows that it has formula Ni 0.98 and O 1.00. Okay, what fractions of what fractions of Ni2 plus and Ni3 plus exist are there? What fractions of Ni2 plus and Ni3 plus are there in the solid, in the nickel oxide, This question seems very tough because the only reason is because it doesn't relate to solid state directly in any way, the topics that we have covered. Okay, but the concept is very easy. Just tell me, let us take this compound. Okay, this is Ni 0.98 and oxygen 1.00. What is the charge in this compound? Do you see any charge?
Plus.
But if no, I mean, do you see any charge? I mean, if there was any
No.
charge, then they would have written charge, right? A plus or
Yes,
a
sir.
minus. So what we can say, there is charge is equal to 0. That is net charge. But we know that this Ni exists in two forms in this particular nickel oxide. Some of the Ni atoms are of 2 plus charge, some of the Ni atoms are of 3 plus charge. But we know that oxygen charge on oxygen is always how much? -2. If you have learned, you must have learned in the redox reactions, the oxidation state of oxygen is -2. The oxidation state of halogens like fluorine, chlorine, bromine, these are how much? -1, right?
Yes, sir.
You'll have learned this, right? That is why when F makes a bond with hydrogen, it just makes one bond, HF. But when oxygen wants to bond with hydrogen, it needs two hydrogens, right?
Yes, sir.
Hence, that is why -2 charges. Okay, let me. Good evening, Fatima. And we have just started. This is the questions that we have started with. The analysis of nickel oxide shows that nickel oxide exists in this particular formula, Ni 0.98 and oxygen in 1.00. What fractions of Ni2 plus and Ni3 plus are there in nickel oxide? So this particular nickel, which is 0.98, in this nickel there are two types of nickel, nickel 2 plus and nickel 3 plus. But oxygen, we know that oxygen can have only one kind of oxidation state. It does not have variable oxidation state. The oxidation state is always -2. Now we can also say that charge on Ni2 plus is +2, charge on Ni3 plus is equal to +3. Now let's take how much? 100 molecules of Ni 0.98 and oxygen. This is solid state. We are just doing one question from solid state, Fatima. This is solid state. And after this question, we will start with solutions. Okay. This one question. Let's take 100 molecules of Ni 0.98 and oxygen 1.00. Okay. So if I will say now total number of nickel atoms is equal to, what do? You just multiply 100 into this particular number, this ratio. If you multiply this 100 into 0.98, let's take 100 molecules of Ni 0.98 and O 1.00. Total number of Ni atoms would be 100 into this particular number. This particular number is 0.98, so this will be 98 atoms of nickels will be present, and total number of O atoms is equal to 100 into 1.00. This will be, oxygen will be of 100 atoms. Oxygen will be of 100 atoms. So we will take these information and this information. Okay, and we are moving to the next slide. In the 98 atoms of nickel, number of Ni2 plus atoms is equal to how much? Let's assume this as X. Now, number of Ni3 plus atoms is equal to how much? Jubaina, number of Ni3 plus, sorry?
X plus 1.
No. See, total number of Ni atoms are 98. And Ni atoms are, very good. 98 minus X. Okay. So now we will write charge on all Ni2 plus atom. Total charge of Ni2 plus. This will be equal to how much? 2. That is the charge of Ni2 plus into the total number of Ni2 plus atoms, that is X. Similarly, charge on all Ni3 plus. This will be equal to how much? Plus 3 into total number of Ni3 plus atoms is 98 minus X. 98 minus X. Now this will be equal to how much? 294 minus this plus 3 minus X is equal to minus 3 minus how much? 3X. Okay. Any doubts still here? Now we will say the above statement. We will take this statement, that is net charge is equal to how much? 0. So if we add charge on oxygen atoms, okay, and plus charge on what? Ni atoms. Now this should be equal to how much? 0, because the total Ni, the nickel oxide does not have any charge. The charge on oxygen atoms will be equal to, what is the charge on one oxygen atom? That is minus 2. The number of oxygen atoms is equal to how much? 100. So we will multiply minus 2 into 100. Now we will add charge on an Ni atom. There are two types of Ni atoms. For Ni2 plus, what we will write? We will write 2x. Then we will write plus 294 minus how much? 3x. This will be equal to 0. Now this, let us multiply this. This will be minus 200 plus 2x and minus 3x. This will be equal to x, and this 294 will be 294. 294. This will be minus x is equal to 0. And now this will be how much? Minus x is equal to 294 minus, this will be x is equal to 94 minus x is equal to how much? 0. So x will be equal to how much? 94. So now what we have is, and what is x? X is the number of Ni2 plus atoms. So number of Ni2 plus atoms is equal to 94. Number of Ni3 plus atoms, and this will be 4. Don't leave the question till here. Why? Because the questioner has asked about what fractions of Ni2 plus and Ni3 plus are there in the nickel oxide. Correct? So we will fraction of Ni2 plus will be equal to 94. That is the number of Ni2 plus, and total. How many is total? 98. This will be equal to 0.9. I guess 959. It is 959. A fraction of Ni3 plus. This will be equal to what you do? You just subtract 1 from this particular number, or you can also 4 by 98. The answer would be always same. This will be equal to 0.041. But what the chapter is? The chapter is solution. The chapter is solution. What is a solution? A solution is a mixture of solvent. Just a second, let me say this is solute. Each and everything is very much planned. This is solute, and this is solvent. Adding these two makes solution. What is present in larger amount? Option A is solvent. Okay. It is solvent. Option B is solute. Larger amount would be solvent. Also, I represent this solution in this particular way only because this particular arrow for solute is pointing only at this particular point, and this curly bracket for solvent is designating this whole amount for solvent. So even by this definition and even by this diagram, you can also understand that solvent is in major amount, solute is in minute amounts. And this is also the definition for solvent and solute. What is the definition for solvent? The definition is the component of solution. The component of solution that is present in larger amount. That is present in larger amount. The another definition is the component of a solution. The component of a solution, this thing you will write again, the component of a solution, and then you will move with that determines the phase of solution. What is phase? Solid phase, liquid phase, or gaseous phase. Okay, so the phase of solution. Solvent, what is solvent? The component of a solution that is present in larger amount, or the component of the solution that determines the phase of the solution. Now what is solvent? Let me just select these and I will move them a bit above, and then we will write about solute. What is solute? The component of solution that is present in lesser amount. I'm writing solvent, then I'm writing the solute, and I will write solution here. Solution. Okay. Also, I will represent solvent with A in the later chapter, solute with B. Okay, and whenever solutions come, I will write it A plus B if needed. If I say solvent is gas and solute is also gas, the solution is a gaseous solution. Okay, pretty easy. Again, if the solvent is gas and the solute is liquid, then the solution is what will be the solution? Gaseous solution or a liquid solution? What is the solvent? The solvent is a gas. And what determines the phase of a solution? Solvent. So if the solvent is gas, then the solution will be also gaseous solution. Okay, it is easy. It was not a trick question. If the solvent is gas and even though the solute is solid, again the solution will be gaseous solution. Okay, yeah, solvent is more, right, Afroza? Fatima answered correctly. Now, if the solvent is liquid and the solute is gas, the solution will be liquid solution. Again, this is liquid, this is liquid. So this will be also liquid. This is liquid, this is solid. This will be also liquid. And again, it depends only on the solvent. If the solvent is solid and the solute is gas, this will be solid solution. And if it is solid and this is liquid, this will again be solid solution. This is solid, this is also solid. This will be also solid solution. Okay, this is just an information, just to make practice that you always write this phase of the solution as is the phase of solvent. Okay, this is just an exercise to make you practice that solvent determines the phase of the solution, whether the solution should be liquid, solid, or gaseous. Concentration terms. So first of all, what is a concentration? Sometimes you get a tea and you say that okay, it is not sweet as it should be. Chini kam hai. I mean, you say that, right? Sometimes you say that the milk is not as thick. The milk is very less. The tea is very dark. Sometimes the tea leaves are less. So these all things, less and more, what you are saying is about the concentration, that is the amount of sugar in a particular tea or in juices, right? So the amount of what? Sugar. Sugar is in minute quantity in what? Juice. Juice is the solution. So we sometimes say that what is concentration term? The amount of a component. The amount of a component. It doesn't matter if the component is the solvent or it is the solute. Okay, we always say concentration because you should remember that when you make tea, you always take care of how much milk you are pouring into the tea and how much water you are pouring into the tea. These two components are of the major amount and larger amount, but still we need to look at how much sugar as well as milk and water we are putting into the tea. So the amount of component in the solution, or in the solution, or with respect to the solvent. We compare the amount of any component to solution, or we compare the amount of a component and usually solute when we are respecting it to, when we are comparing it to solvent. So this is the definition for concentration term, that the amount of a component in the solution with respect to a solvent. This is for concentration. This is the definition for concentration. Now, why concentration terms? Why do we need so many concentration terms? That is because you don't measure everything equally. Sometimes you have very large amount. Sometimes you put things with a spoon. Sometimes you put things with a cup. That is why here we have concentration terms in which the amount matters. Some are concentration terms for less amounts. Some concentration terms are for greater amount. So first of all, we will do with a very easy one. That is, the first few are very easy. Mass percentage. It is called mass percentage and it is denoted by W by W. What is this? This is equal to mass of a component Mass of a component where in solution upon total mass of solution. Total mass of solution into 100. So for example, if somebody says that a solution of 10% ethanol W by W in H2O. What will that mean? It will mean that 10 grams of ethanol in it is dissolved in 90 gram of H2O. Don't make the mistake of writing the amount of H2O as 100 because the sum of ethanol and H2O should be 100. Okay, so the mass of a component in solution, mass of the component solution is 10%, so it is 10 gram, right? So the remaining, that is 100 minus 10, should be of water. Similarly, we have volume percentage, and it is denoted by V by V. This is a uppercase V and this is a lowercase w. Mass, here it will be volume of solution into 100. So similarly, if I said that a solution of 10% ethanol, capital V, uppercase V by V in H2O. Now you will tell me, yes, ethanol was a solute, right? I have answered that, I guess. Now you tell me, volume of ethanol. No. Should the component be always solute? No. There is if the component was always solute, I would have written there solute. Volume of ethanol is equal to how much? And volume of H2O is equal to how much? Yes, it would be 10, but generally, see here we write grams. Yes, 90. The ratio is very rightly correct. But generally, what do? We write here grams for mass by mass, and for volume by volume, what do we write? We write 10 ml, and similarly, this will be 90 ml. Okay. So this is something hidden in the definition, which it is not explicitly said, but we can say that the volume of ethanol is 10 ml and the volume of H2O is 90 ml. Okay. So whenever you get this kind of notation, 10% ethanol volume by volume in H2O, what you will also always take, you will take the units as ml. And if you get something like this, that 10% ethanol W by W, then what you will take? You will take the unit of mass in grams. You will take the units of mass in grams. This is something that you have to remember. Otherwise, the definitions and the formula is very easy. Okay, mass percentage, mass of a component in a solution into 100 upon total mass of the solution. Volume percentage, volume of a component in a solution into 100. Now the third concentration term is mass by volume. Is what it is, mass by volume. The definition of this is mass of now this is important, mass of solute dissolved in 100 ml of solution, dissolved in 100 ml of solution. Now how do we denote? We denote this as, this mass would be for W and this volume would be for the volume. V4 will be for volume. For example, if somebody says 10% of ethanol, 10% of ethanol, W by uppercase V in H2O, what will this mean? This will mean that ethanol, what will be the amount of ethanol? Afroza, Jubaina, and Fatima, what would be the amount of ethanol? And tell me by units. Okay, fine. This will be 10 grams. Okay. But now if somebody asks you amount of H2O, what will you say? We don't know. Why we don't know? Why we don't know? Because information is not given. What does it say? It says only about 100 ml of solution. Okay. So 10 gram of ETOH. This is ethanol. Okay. ETOH plus water is equal to how much? 100 ml. But one of the things here is in grams. The other side of the equation has ml. According to the definition of mass by volume, that is why you cannot calculate water. But for earlier cases, what happened? For earlier cases, both were in the terms of mass and in terms of grams, right? Hence, we can easily add. So if 10% of ethanol, so 10 gram of ethanol and 90 gram of water, correct? Because everything was here in the terms of mass and everything here in volume percentage was in terms of volume. Hence, we could easily add and subtract, right? But here something is in terms of grams and the solution is given in terms of milliliters. Okay, Afroza left. Okay. 100 ml is in volume and gram is in mass. Hence, we cannot add and we cannot say anything about the amount of H2O. Okay. Now we have to cover 3. We will go for the 4th one. 4th is parts per million. Parts per million. What is this? It is parts of a component. Parts of a component in solution. Always it is in solution. It is already in a solution upon total number of all the parts. Total number of all the parts in solution into 10 to the power 6. Okay. So what is the use of such a weird kind of concentration term? Such concentration terms are used when we are measuring very minute, very minute particles. Do you understand this? Parts per million. So you have a million of something, a very huge amount, and you are measuring some very few parts from that particular million. For example, if I say calculate mass percentage of just say ash particles in air if 100 liters of mass, 100 gram, 100 kgs into this, 100 kg of air has 0.1 mg of ash. You know ash, right? You all know ash, right? If we burn anything that has carbon in it, then we get ash. Okay. So calculate this. Calculate the mass percentage of ash particles in air if 100 kg of air has 0.1 milligram of ash. What we can say is mass percentage. If you look at the formula, is equal to mass of component upon mass of solution. So what we have here is a gaseous solution, mass percentage. So what is the mass of component? 0.1. What is milli? What is milli? 10 to the power how much? 10 to the power minus 3. Very good. 10 to the power minus 3. So this will be 10 to the power minus 3 into 10 to the power minus 3 grams upon how much? 100 kg. What is, if this particular thing is in grams, then the denominator should always be in grams. So we will multiply again 1000 because we have this kg here. 1000, this will be grams into 100. Now write this. This will be 0.1 into 10 to the power minus 3, and this is 10 to the power minus 3. This will be equal to 10 to the power minus 6, and this 100 will cancel out this 100. Wait a second, sorry. 10 to the power minus 6. This we can write 1 into 10 to the power minus 5. Sorry, we write it W by W, right? So you will write. Now tell me, does this look any good? Is it serving you any purpose? No, right? Because if I say 1.0 into 10 to the power minus 5 W by W, it doesn't give us any sense about how much it is present, right? So what we do, we use this kind of thing, parts per million, for very minute quantities. Now I will calculate this particular thing by using this formula. Then parts of a component upon total number of parts of solution. Total number of parts of all components in solution. Total number of parts of all components in solution into 10 to the power 6. This will be as ppm. If you calculate this, ppm. Parts of a component. What is the parts of component? 0.1 into 10 to the power minus 3 grams. See, if we have written parts, then you don't have to worry about the formula. If the question have asked you and given you data in volume, you will use the volume terms. Now the given data is in mass terms, that is in grams, then we are using grams, right? So the total number of parts solution is equal to how much? 100 into 000, that is for kilo, and grams into 10 to the power 6. Now this will be equal to, this will be equal to 0.1 into 10 to the power, this will be minus 6, and for this will be into 10 to the power minus 2. Sorry, that would join each other and become power minus 2. This will be equal to 0.1. We can cancel out these two, correct? You can cancel out these two, and we will write it as 0.1 into 10 to the power minus 2. This will be equal to 0.001 ppm. That's it. Earlier, what did we have? We had this kind of stuff. We had this kind of concentration term in which there was a decimal points of minus 5. So these kind of weird things we don't want to say. 1 into 10 to the power minus 5. So we derived and devised a easier way of saying things, that is 0.001 ppm. And if you want to know, there is also something called ppb, parts per billion, but you don't have to learn about that. Okay, great. So now I guess now you can appreciate why we have different type of concentration terms. Okay, now you can appreciate why we have different type of concentration term. It is each and every concentration term has its own value, So we are done with 4. The next concentration term is mole fraction. Mole fraction. What is mole fraction? We write mole fraction as this particular chi. We say this as chi, chi, and it is equal to number of, very easy, number of moles of. So let us suppose we are finding for 1. Okay, where we are finding for component 1. So number of moles of the component upon total number of moles of all the component. moles of all the component. Okay. So, but if we have a binary solution, that's a new term. Binary solution. Binary means of two. Solution that has two components. That has two components. Solution with two components. And as I have told you, I will take A. If I say chi A, then you will assume that I am talking about the mole fraction of a solvent. We'll write this as Na, that is the number of moles of that particular component, upon Na, and if this is Na, the other will be Nb. And then next thing is chi B, this will be equal to Nb upon Na plus Nb. And I have a question for you. Calculate chi A plus chi B. This is, then another point we can write is chi A is equal to 1 minus chi B. Oh, okay, fine. You must have learned about this in 11th standard only. Yeah. Okay, all right. Chi B is equal to 1 minus chi A. Some basic concepts of chemistry, chapter 1. I guess that has, yes, that has mole fractions. Correct. Now, what about a solution that has, let us say, for a solution that has, we have already taken N, so let me take I number of components. Okay. So if I will say X, that is chi of I, this will be equal to number of moles of component 1 upon N1 plus N2 plus N3 plus, it will go on till Ni. Okay. So if we have so many, I mean not only one, for example, take your T. T does not have only two type of components, it has many components. So if you want to derive or calculate the mole fraction of each and every component in T, you have to use this kind of formula. Okay, and this formula is also very in accordance to this particular definitive formula, right? Number of moles of the component upon total number of moles of the component. Same formula we are writing here, number of the moles of the component upon total number of the moles of the component. Okay. Now, as we move on, we'll just do a question with a few of the concentration terms involved. You have to calculate the mole fraction. Calculate the mole fraction of ethylene glycol. Now, ethylene glycol is C2H6O2 in a solution containing 20% of C2H6O2, containing 20. Okay, this pen here. 20% of C2H6O2 by mass. Okay, so I'm giving you the approach, how you have to approach. First of all, you will calculate given mass of C2H6O2, then and of H2O. Then if you have given mass of C2H6O2 and of H2O, from these two, you will derive there the number of moles of C2H6O2. Then you will derive this number of moles of H2O, and as you have completed this kind of calculation, then you will put that in this formula, correct, and you will get mole fraction. 20% of ethylene glycol, whose formula is C2H6O2 in H2O. In H2O. Fine, in H2O. You got 0.06. Yes, Fatima, that's right. The mole fraction will be 0.068, but I mean 0.06 is also good enough. So how did we get this? I guess first what we have to do, mass of C2H6O2. This will be equal to how much? Easily vary 20 grams, right? Why? Because this is given in H2O. This was 20% of ethylene glycol. This was M by M, mass percentage. Okay. Then mass of C2H6 is 20 gram. Mass of H2O, this will be equal to 100 minus 20. This will be equal to 80 grams. Now number of moles of C2H6O2, this will be equal to given mass upon molar mass. Now this will be equal to given mass upon molar mass. Given mass is 20 grams upon the molar mass. The molar mass of C2H6O2 will be 62 grams. Correct, Fatima? You must have calculated this 62 grams. This will come approximately equal to 0.3. Approximately equal to 0.3 and I guess 0.32. Yes, 0.32 moles. 0.32 moles. The next is number of moles of water. Number of moles of H2O. This will be equal to how much? Given mass. What is the given mass? 80 grams. 80 grams. The molar mass of H2O is 18. So we will get this. Okay, this will be gram per mole. This is gram. This is gram per mole. So this will be equal to almost 4.4. 4.4, Fatima, right? Now what we have to do? We just have to calculate chi of C2H6O2. This will be equal to how much? 0.32. We'll take 0.32 upon 0.32 plus 4.4. 4.4. If you calculate this, this will come around 0.068. That's the answer. And similarly for x of, that is chi of H2O, this will be equal to 1 minus 0.068, and this will be equal to how much? 0.2239. 932. This would be 6. Okay. Molarity. Anyone? What is molarity? Number of moles of A, I mean any component A, upon what? Volume of solution in liter. Volume of solution in liters. In liters. Let us do a quick questions on this and then we will move on. Okay. Let us do a quick question. See, the main issue here in concentration terms is not the formula. Formulas are very easy, but things become messy when you have to convert ml to liter, liter to ml. Then sometimes there is decimeter cube. So what you have to calculate the molarity of NaOH. Calculate the molarity. Calculate the molarity of a solution containing containing 5 gram of NaOH, and 450 ml of solution. N of NaOH is equal to given mass, that is 5 grams, upon the molar mass, that will be equal to 40 grams per mole. This will be equal to 0.125 grams. sorry, 125, not grams, this will be 125 mole. 125 mole. Now the next thing that we have to find is we have to convert this particular 450 ml into liters. Now 450 ml is equal to how much? 450. Okay, 450, and what you have to do, divide by 1000. This is ml, and liter inverse. By liter inverse, this, what is this 1000 ml? 1000 ml is 1 liter, and liter is upon that, so that will be equal to 1. Hence what we do, 1000, we divide this by 1000. We will just remain and keep it like this, and we will say that what you have to find the molarity. M is equal to, molarity is denoted by M, and that will be equal to 0.125. This is mole, and upon 450 ml, and this 1000 is also below, but this will go above, and this will become 1000 here, ml and liter inverse. So we can cancel out this ml and this ml, and this will be equal to how much? 450. Let us start solving. Will be equal to, let us do first this. Wait a second. We can first of all cut this 0 by this 0. Then what we can do, we can write this as 5. If we 5, this will be 5 9s are, and this will be 5 2s are. Yes, Jubena, correct. 5 2s are and 5 2s are, and now what we have, 5 2s are, this will be 20, I guess. 20 into 5 is 100, and this will be equal to 0.27 as correctly said by Jubena. M, or 0.27 ml, sorry, not ml, moles per liter, moles per liter, m moles, and this will be for liter, and this is also written as 0.27 into moles per dm cube. Now these all three means the same. Now the next is 7th concentration term, which is molality. What is molality? Molality is just now denoted by small m. Molality is denoted by capital M, and small m is equal to number of moles of A or B or any component upon mass of solvent in kg. If that is solvent, this would be B. Mass of solvent in kg. Mass of solvent in kg. Calculate the, you have to calculate the molality. First calculate molarity, then you have to calculate molality. Wait a second, I will write molality downwards. Calculate, second is molality. Calculate molality and also mole fraction, yes. Third, mole fraction. Mole fraction. Let me take of ki, and I will give you ki if the density of, if the density of 20% W by W aqueous ki is 1.202 gram per ml. Fine. First of all, let me give you a hint that the molar mass of Ki is equal to 166 gram per mole. Okay, 166 gram per mole. Okay. So first of all, what do you do? First of all, you find it is mass by mass, right? It is mass by mass. Okay. So if it is mass by mass, you will know the mass of Ki. And first of all, tell me what is this solute here. What is the solute here? Ki. What is the solvent? Yes, very good. H2O. H2O. Correct. Aqueous. Aqueous means H. I've given you the molar mass. You know the solute. You know the solvent. The only information they have given is about 20% weight by weight. Don't worry about the density. Okay, now you just deal with some things that you already know. What is 20% weight by weight? Now you will say that mass of Ki is equal to how much? Tell me. Mass of Ki is equal to
20%.
20 grams. 20 grams. Remember, yeah. See. When I said mass, W by W, and when I said 10% ethanol, what I said, we usually take what? Grams. We usually take what? Grams. Okay. So here also, if it is given 20% of Ki, what we will say? 20 grams. Now tell me, mass of H2O. What will be the mass of H2O?
80.
Yes, very right. 80 grams. Okay. Now you can calculate some things. Some things, maybe mole fraction. Correct. You have mass of both the components. You just have to calculate the mole, the number of moles. You will calculate the number of moles of Ki by dividing it with this value. You will calculate the number of moles of H2O by dividing it with 18 grams. And you will know the mole fraction of each of the Ki and H2O if you want. Then you can also calculate the molality. Why? You know of most of Ki and you know the mass solute, and you will convert this into kg. Okay, you both of you got the mole fraction right. So just tell me the number of moles of Ki is equal to how much? 0.120. 0.12. Correct. This is something that we have now. Now let me take M, which is molality. What is it? It is number of moles of Ki upon mass of solvent in kg. Now what is number of moles of Ki? It is 0.1, 0.12 upon, this is 80, this is 80 grams, 80 grams, right? Then we will divide this by 1000, and if we divide this by 1000, we just multiplying this by 1000 here. Wait a second, sorry. I should have written one more 0. Fine. This is gram, and this will be kg inverse. This will be equal to this cuts here. This is mole, so this will be equal to, okay, what you have to do, 0.12 into 1000 upon 80. You just have to calculate this now. You raise this by this. Now this will be equal to how much? 12 by 8. Now this will be equal to how much? This will, yep, correct. We are done with mole fraction. We are done with molality. Let's move on to molarity. For molarity, the formula is how what is the formula? It is number of moles of Ki upon volume of solution. It is volume of solution. So we know the number of moles of Ki is equal to how much? 0.12. We don't know the volume of solution in liters. We need to find this. Okay, it's easy. Nothing to worry about. We know that. What do we know? The density of H2O is equal to 1 gram per ml. If you take 1 gram of H2O, it will occupy 1 ml of space. If you take 1 ml of water and if we measure it, then it will be 1 gram in its mass. The density of H2O is 1 gram per mole. Therefore, we have 80 grams of H2O. Therefore, volume of 80 gram of H2O will be equal to how much? 80 ml. equal to 80 ml. Density of aqueous Ki. What is aqueous Ki? This is the solution. So this will be equal to how much? 1.202 gram per mole per milliliter. And we have volume. Volume of solution is equal to this is 100 grams. Why 100 grams? Because 80 plus 20 is 100. 100 grams upon 1.202 gram per ml. It was solution. I'm really sorry. It was solution. I just noticed that Ki is 1.202. I missed this aqueous part, and aqueous Ki is the solution. So it is the volume of solution. Volume of solution is the mass of solution upon the density. The mass of solution is 100 gram. Why 100 gram? Because we have 80 plus 20, that is equal to 100 grams. And 100 gram upon 1.202, this will come approximately equal to how much? Let us calculate. So be equal to 100 upon 1.202. This will be approximately equal to 83.19. Now you have got the volume. So we'll just substitute that in molarity. Capital M will be equal to number of moles 0.12 upon 83.19. This is ml. So we will just divide this by 1000. Dividing that by 1000 will be equal to multiplying that by 1000. So this will be equal to how much? 0.12 into 1000 upon 83.19. Yes, correct. Correct, Jumana. 1.44. The unit will be mole per liter, or you can write 1.44 mole per dm cube. These are the two things that you can write. Now can you tell me, I'm saying a statement, some of the concentration terms are temperature independent and some are temperature dependent. Okay. Now, for example, let me take first mass percentage, second volume percentage, third mole fraction, and fourth molality. Fifth will be molarity. Okay. Pick those that are temperature independent. Okay, I will write this equation and you will like it. No, that's sad. PV is equal to nRT. You know this, right? And now you see a relationship between volume and temperature. You see a relationship between volume and temperature. Okay, fine. So any concentration term that has a volume term in it, it is temperature dependent. That means it can change with temperature. That means it will change in temperature. So what we can see, take those that are temperature independent. Then mass percentage does not have a volume component. That is temperature independent. Temperature will increase and the volume will also increase, and that is why this whole concentration term will get disturbed. Now for mole fraction, it is temperature independent. Why? Because for binary solutions, right? It does not involve any volume component. For molality, it is also temperature independent because it has Na upon, or Nb I should say, upon the mass, that is W of A in kg. W of A in kg, that is mass of, this is A is for solvent, P is for solute, right? But molarity is not temperature independent because it has NV upon volume of solution. As it contains the component volume of solution, what we will say, it is not temperature independent. It is not temperature independent. Now, if somebody will ask you, and if they gave you some random type of concentration term, a very new concentration term, then what will you say? You will just see what those concentration terms have terms in the formula. But for example, ppm. For ppm, it is temperature independent or temperature dependent. Independent. Okay, it seems independent because we have parts here, parts of component and parts of solution, and total parts. But now it depends what this part is meant. Okay, for the example that we saw for ppm, yes, parts, we chose gram there. The questioner has asked us about grams in milligram and the kg of air. So now the ppm is here temperature independent. But if the questioner gave us something in volume like 100 liters and 0.1 ml, then that would have been temperature dependence. Okay, so for ppm we cannot say anything. What we will say, we can't say the information is insufficient. Now, if the questioner had given you what this part means in ppm, either it is a volume component or a mass component, then you would have easily answered that it would be either temperature dependent or temperature independent. But for now, we don't have the sufficient information, hence we will say we can't say. It can be anything according to the question, according to the data given.